On Tuesday, Attorney General Jeff Sessions was called in front of the House Judiciary Committee for reasons that, to be quite honest, are a little unclear. Now, they said the meeting or the questioning, the hearing, whatever is going to be, was going to be more about oversight at the Department of Justice. However, Republicans only used the opportunity to goad Jeff Sessions into launching an investigation into Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and Uranium One and Barack Obama and basically any Democrat who they've ever seen in their lives. They were trying to push Jeff Sessions during this hearing to launch investigations into them. And Jeff Sessions, to his credit, said, looks like, is not grounds for a full-blown investigation, even though he'd hinted the day before that he wanted to launch an investigation. But that's neither here nor there. The big takeaway from Tuesday's hearing with Jeff Sessions happened when Democratic Representative Ted Lieu decided to ask Jeff Sessions exactly how he was lying and, to be honest, when he was lying. Take a look.
As Attorney General, you have a security clearance, correct?
Yes.
And to get that security clearance, you submitted a security clearance application, also known as an SF-86 form, correct?
That's correct.
I submitted such a form when I served on active duty in the U.S. Air Force. And the form requires you to certify under penalty of perjury that the information submitted was true, complete, and correct to the best of your knowledge. You certified your security clearance form, correct?
That is correct.
I'm going to, on the video screen, show you a question from that form. And it says, have you or any of your immediate family in the past 7 years had any contact with a foreign government, its establishment, such as embassy, consulate agency, military service, intelligence, or security service, etc., or its representatives, whether inside or outside the U.S.? The answer that you gave was no. What you just told us under oath was exactly the opposite. So I'm going to ask you, Mr. Sessions, were you lying then when you filled out the form, or are you lying now?
What I was told by my executive assistant when we did this form earlier, and then again when I was nominated for Attorney General, that the FBI authority says members of Congress and effectively government officials meeting people on an official basis, you were not required to list all these contacts.
Nothing in that question says you get to answer any differently because you're a U.S. Senator rather than, say, a young police officer. Isn't that right?
Well,
nothing in that question authorizes you to answer any differently. Isn't that right?
I would say that.
Now, I didn't go to law school. I know a lot about the law. I work with a lot of lawyers. But what I will say is that it kind of seems like Representative Lieu just laid out the case for perjury charges to be brought against Jeff Sessions. I mean, it's pretty black and white right there on the screen. He either lied then or he is lying now. Now, we know that back when he had to testify in front of the Senate, Jeff Sessions had said, I had no contact with the Russians. Well, as it turns out, he had 2 contacts at least with Sergei Kislyak that he, didn't recall at the time. Then later on, he said, no, nobody in the campaign had any kind of contact with anybody other than those things. And it turns out, oh, that was a lie because he was in that meeting with Papadopoulos where Papadopoulos said, hey, I've got Russians that want to meet with us. And Jeff Sessions said, no, it's probably a bad idea. So he didn't disclose that either. So my guess is that, yeah, Jeff Sessions lied in that previous one. And to be honest, he's probably also lying in the Tuesday hearing. During the entire hearing, Jeff Sessions kept repeating the line, I do not recall. I can't recall. I don't recollect. I don't remember. Now, that kind of seems like somebody who's trying to something that somebody who's trying to cover up something would continue to say, which is exactly the case of Jeff Sessions at this point. Why some kind of investigation into Jeff Sessions hasn't begun is absolutely beyond me. But it also helps to explain why the Republicans in that hearing were so hell-bent on getting Jeff Sessions to launch an investigation into Democrats. They'll try anything at this point to pull away from the fact that, 1, their president is under investigation, and number 2, the Department of Justice head, Attorney General Jeff Sessions, has clearly lied under oath, he's lied on his forms, and he's lying to the American public at every possible chance he can get when he's under oath. Now those sound like crimes worthy of investigation. If you're thinking about subscribing to our channel, I strongly encourage you to do that. But if you're not thinking about subscribing, I would encourage you to start thinking about it, and then once you're thinking about it, actually go and do it. You can see the subscribe button right there on the screen, or if you're watching on a different platform, go to youtube.com/theringoffire.